Hello, I'm Morris Ruddick. We began this series of Jewish business secrets by commenting on the response of a religious leader outside the faith to what he saw in the lives of the Christians that he knew. Gandhi loved the teachings of Jesus, but rejected the faith because of his observation that the lives of the followers of Jesus didn't match up to the standard. Gandhi's words seemed to express disappointment. Perhaps his take on the Christians he knew was a distorted representation. One only has to look at the track record of anti-Semitism to know that distorted responses can accompany an identity in God. Still, the world is looking. The world is hungry to see the reality of God operating through a people. It is an identity thing. The identity of Jews is encased by their history and legacy. Jews are generally viewed as a prophetic people of God, a people of destiny. It punctuates why understanding the history included in the ancient Jewish writings is so important. As a people, the Jews have an incredible track record of disproportionate accomplishments. Within this context, they have gained an irrefutable reputation as a people of business. Over the centuries, Jews have left their mark of positive influence on the major civilizations of which they have been a part. Their skill as merchants, brokers, bankers, and traders have given birth to middle classes in societies that previously only had peasants and ruling classes. Their creativity and contributions to humanity during just this last generation have changed the world for the better. Whether it is their impact on the societies in which they've been a part or the standards by which they have defined their communities, Jews as a whole have walked the talk, characterizing their faith. Jesus himself said that we would be known by our fruits. Within historic Jewish writings is the story of a craftsman, an entrepreneur whose name was Bezalel. The story of Bezalel illustrates why a person's gift can open the door for opportunity. It shows the importance of using one's gifts for a broader, more enduring purpose that serves the community and posterity. It is an example of the importance of the simple things, but simple from the standpoint of stewardship and the faithfulness required that walks before it runs and evolves into excellence. It is in this type of simplicity that the expectations of the wise are confounded. The story of Bezalel also illustrates how there is a point in the process of becoming so excellent in your gift that a spiritual dimension from God becomes a part of the equation. It is written that God called Bezalel by name and filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in ability, in knowledge, and in understanding of skillful works, and of devising all kinds of craftsmanship. Bezalel, who lived during the days of Moses, was from the house of Judah. His story is an apt representation of the points we have been making in this series on Jewish business secrets. It unveils how the dimension of the seen world can be enhanced by the unseen. It punctuates the prophecy given by Moses that if the people of Israel would adhere to following the Lord, that they would be the head and not the tail, and would be above all the other nations of the earth. So it has been in this distinction as a prophetic people of God that their potential and legacy as disproportionate achievers has been held. To illustrate, Jews have been awarded 27% of all Nobel Prizes since 1950, following the destruction of a third of their population in the Holocaust. The Encyclopedia Britannica has a section on great inventions. Jews have accounted for the defibrillator, the pacemaker, instant photography, holography, and the videotape. Stephen Peace's research, The Golden Age of Jewish Achievement, notes that of Fortune's 2003 list of the 25 most powerful people in business, 24% were Jewish. Jews pioneered the ready-to-wear garment industry. Over half the department stores in America were started or run by Jews. Specialty retailing is laced with names that have been created by Jews. Gap, Limited, Men's Warehouse, Home Depot, Ritz Camera, Bed Bath & Beyond. Jews are dominant in diamonds and the diamond trade. Starbucks in coffee, Haagen-Dazs and Baskin-Robbins in ice cream, Fairmont, Lowe's, Hyatt, Helmsley, and Wynn in hotels are all Jewish operations, along with the creating and shaping of every major Hollywood studio. In the major TV networks, only ABC was not started by a Jew. The legacy extends to cable, to publishing, finance, and real estate. The world's most successful search engine, Google, and software, Microsoft, are Jewish creations. The second largest software company, Oracle, has a co-founder and head who is Jewish. So it has been with Dell, Intel, Yahoo, eBay, and Qualcomm. A third of leading symphony orchestras have been conducted by Jews. Jews have created roughly 2/3 of the longest running musicals on Broadway. Almost 4 out of 10 of the Hollywood directors awarded Oscars have been Jews. Jews have over half the Pulitzer Prizes for nonfiction. Almost 40% of Business Week's America's 50 most generous benefactors are Jewish families and individuals. Each of these examples reflect disproportionate achievement by a people whose numbers, listen to this, whose numbers are less than 1/4 of 1% of the world's population. As the world becomes increasingly aware of the Jewish phenomena, it has been during our day that there has emerged a global movement to glean the truths and ways of the Jews. This awareness has extended to nations like Vietnam, who have reached out to Israel, which with such unexpected alliances is a growing recognition of the legacy of the Jews. The Jewish legacy is a legacy of power, yet it is a different type of power. It is the power that closes the gap with creativity and discovery for the good of mankind. In talking about gaps, it is pertinent to address the gap that Jesus, as the Jewish Messiah, came to bridge. Jesus made his Jewish identity very clear. His teachings gave focus to the purity of the issues that had become muddied. He advised his followers to give heed to the foundations held by the Pharisaical Jewish leaders, but to be wary of what he referred to as the leaven of the Pharisees. In other words, the speculative religious add-ons unnecessary to know God and to walk in his ways. Jesus referred to these religious leaders of his own people who misused their positions and power for personal gain and elitism as hypocrites. Jesus gave focus to truths that had long been foundational to what had made Jews distinctive. He pointed to their destiny, to a future that will fulfill the promises of God to his people and restore the order God had originally intended for those who believed. He dealt with the proper use of power, of righteous power, in a corrupt world. Jesus also talked about restoration, the restoration of the foundations to form a society he referred to as the kingdom of God. As already noted, Jesus did all this in the context of a distinctive Jewish identity. The Christianity that Gandhi found so compelling was foundationally a Jewish sect. As a culture operating within the confines of the dominant cultures of each major era, Judaism has again and again been challenged with both cultural in economic survival. Yet the power to prevail has been inherent in the foundations passed on by Abraham and put into writing by Moses. Together with the history, the wisdom, the Psalms, along with the words of the prophets, these collected writings are a treasure trove of the secrets to the exploits and destiny of Abraham's descendants and all others who would believe. They are the basis to why Jews have been known as the people of business, a people of destiny. In this process prophetically, Jesus became the firstborn of the needed spiritual restoration leading to the destiny of Abraham's lineage. Jesus, Yeshua in Hebrew, spoke of our day as the beginning of another phase of this restoration. This dynamic of restoration, the fulfillment of the kingdom, is at its roots a very Jewish belief. It references a time coming when the Messiah would reign as king and his forebear David as prince in the land promised to Abraham's descendants. Yet within a generation of Yeshua's, of Jesus' life, there arose problems. As a movement, the first generation of Christianity reflected incredible spiritual power. The impact they made was described as turning the world upside down, whereas the strength came from the foundations and culture from within. So there also came an internal weakness that had been inherent in the Jewish people over the centuries, the desire to be like everyone else. This weakness began manifesting in the early church. Within a generation of the time of Jesus, there arose those like the Nicolaitans, who were enticing followers away from the Jewish foundations, identity, and cultural roots, together with those who wielded their power from short-sighted perspectives, and too often for their own gain with speculative add-ons. This vibrant new movement experienced growing defilement and began losing its once potent spiritual power as it became more and more institutionalized. And I'm Morris Ruddick. In our next session, we're going to look more closely at this legacy and the restoration it involves as it gains focus on the world stage.